All right, so this is the opening of this hive at a salt storage facility. And I did a longer video on this to music just to show the effort that goes into opening it up. But this is the coolest part of the rescues is when you cut into the wall and you get to see what's behind it, see how right you were as to where the location of the hive was and that sort of thing. And really see how they've built the honeycomb. It's always interesting. It's never the same and it's a very cool experience just to be able to witness it for the first time. Anybody's seeing it at all is when you cut it open. So you can see we're keeping things safe with the smoker nearby and just meticulously working our way up, removing the honeycomb that we can and putting it into frames to build hives. And then whatever is just really densely packed honeycomb with honey, we just stick that in totes and it's processed later. So the wax and the honey gets separated and it's used for all the different things we know it's used for. So you can see it's not easy work. It goes pretty slowly when you're making sure you've cleaned everything out on your way, but it's what you got to do to make sure it doesn't get reinfested, as well as stuff every little hole with steel wool or a hardware cloth or anything you can find that bees can't make their way in. You really don't want a reinfestation after something like this has happened. So now we've made our way inside, just measuring to exactly where we should be opening up the wall to catch the top of the hive. And this is just as exciting as opening the bottom of the hive. You really don't know if it goes right up to the top, what you're going to find, how many bees are going to fill the air as you're doing it. So really, really interesting and always exciting. Everybody in this building right now is just on the edge of their seat wanting to see what's inside and cut into it. And it's almost like being on the moon in this salt storage facility. It was such a unique experience having to climb to the top of this hill of salt to do this bee removal. And, you really had to be just a little bit more on your toes so you were stable and not falling down this hill that was behind you. But at the end of the day, that was not something that we were concerned about that much at all compared to, just making sure everything went well with the rescue. So you can see we've got one of the beekeepers here is actually cutting into the wall. This is one of the guys we called in once we realized that this was a job that ended up being 5 or 10 times bigger than we expected. And there is a lot of effort that goes into prying open a hive like this. You got to have a couple smokers ready. You got to have all your equipment ready. And it's always a little bit nerve-wracking at the very, very start of it because, you really want to see what's in there, but you also want to make sure nobody gets hurt and things go safely. And, who knows what you could end up cutting through if you weren't careful. Obviously, in this situation, there's not much to be worried about, but cutting into a wall, you can obviously cut electrical connections and whatnot. And an interesting part about this part here is you'll notice that the sawdust is really sticking to the wall, and that's actually because we've cut into honey at this point, and you can see it dripping down the walls, or at least you can see the presence of it as he cuts into it. And so we've just changed our view a little bit here. I know that I was wearing the GoPro and helping with other things, so you might not get the best shot each time. There is a shot, but I try and give you the shots as they happened regardless, because it is pretty interesting just to see and a little bit suspenseful as you try and open something up like this. So I do apologize for the off shots here. It's not a science when you're doing video of something like this and actively participating in it. In fact, you're lucky to get any usable shots at the end of the day. So it does, jump around a bit. A lot of that has to do with things being in the way of the camera itself in frame. It just is what it is. But here is the point we've all been waiting for, and always the most exciting part. And you can just see it's teeming with bees. They're just dripping out of there in clumps, which is pretty impressive. And this is the top part of the hive and also the freshest part of the hive. You can see the color of the honeycomb is a really light color, and that's fresh. When it's super fresh, if you look in the opening of the bottom hive video, the extended version with music, you'll actually see a couple shots of really fresh honeycomb sitting on a Rubbermaid lid, and it just looks so beautiful. It's very, very white. But this is the surface of the moon that I was talking about that we were working on. What a unique experience. You definitely didn't want to fall down here and open up any scratch marks while you were falling through salt. But other than that, it was just super, super interesting. And it added a great dynamic of just fascination to the whole rescue. You know, you get to see things during these rescues that people don't generally get to see. And here we are, you know, just right in the thick of it. And I've brought you with me this time. So I know this camera shot is jumping around a lot. I'd like to edit a lot of this out, but really the shots that we end up getting from here when it does stabilize are well worth it. And it kind of helps with the effect of things just to show. I like that POV view sometimes. It's not always the perfect shot, but it's really reflects so much of what it's like to be there in the action. So one thing, when he cuts into the hive here, it's absolutely amazing to see how much honey is just dripping over everything. And this was a continuous process for us. And each time you took honeycomb out, and it was, you can see it's dripping there, like just teeming down the honeycomb. It's so beautiful. And look at this. I get an awesome slow-mo shot of it. I noticed it dripping off the spatula, and that's one of the tools that we made specifically for this job. But wow, look at that. Delicious honey. And I assure you, it was such delicious honey. This was in an area where it was just wildflowers. There wasn't much commercial farming or anything like that around. It was literally just your natural wildflowers that are around at the time. Probably some, you know, wild fruit trees, that sort of thing that have just been growing. But really, really tasty honey. And really, with how large these hives were, we took out about 60 cubic feet of hive material, bees, that sort of thing. And that's just a staggering amount. This was an absolutely massive removal, and for this area at least, worthy for the records. Nobody's seen anything like it since, and prior to this, the memories go back, you know, 15, 25 years at least, and I haven't heard of any that were anywhere near close to this. So something to take on, that you are definitely a dedicated person to the cause, because once you get into it, you can't just leave it. It's an all or nothing type thing, and if anything went wrong, I mean, things can go very, very wrong very quickly in a situation like this. So not panicking, that sort of thing, is the utmost of importance. Anything having to do with bees, it's something I really had to work on, and you know. Maybe not as much once you are there for long enough, but at first you're really, you know, holding on to yourself to not, you know, let the uncomfortableness of it all get to you. So kudos to the beekeepers who do this on a regular basis and actually take care of bees for their living and provide us with the delicious honey as a result, because I know there's a great number of us who would not want to be in this situation and having to risk getting stung every day. Sure, you're not doing rescues like this, but I guarantee you going into an apiary is quite the interesting experience. So I'm going to take you out as a final part of the video. Look back at the dome there, and if you look, just as a little interesting thing, we'll see. I'm going to go grab some sort of tool. But if you look, right, at the entrance to this facility, there's a cop. And I had to go talk to him. He was wondering what the heck we were doing. I mean, it was quite obvious when I walked up. There he is there again. But I end up going over and talking to him and just letting him know everything is okay. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys.